Last time on Dice Fall and Everyone Dies. What do y'all want to do with Alec?
I mean, I know what Stano wants to do with Alec, but...
And Taffy.
And Deimos. Have you ever been to Agoria?
Have you?
My dad has.
Oh, your dad has. Did he
Did
bring you back a postcard or a T-shirt?
Can I
Says,
smack
my
him?
dad went to Agoria, and the only thing I got was this lousy T-shirt.
So the way we're going to do the solo sessions is we're going to have one person in here, and then we'll vamoose everyone else, and I will mute everyone else's mic except for that one person. Then I will have, once we're done with them, I'll have them go out and then tell the next person who's going to come in.
Oh, secret.
Now, it's Taffy's turn. Scooch the rest of you. Welcome back to Dice Fall and Everyone Dies. I'm your GM Chris, and today let's talk about time and how it relates to campaigns. Now, we could wax poetic about time, but that's not really what we're aiming for at this moment. Instead, we really want to look at the idea of how time plays a role in various kinds of campaigns. I'm of two broad categories of thought on how time should interact with games. One side is that time is arbitrary to the story, and the game should focus on moments of great play. Time in this form of thought should serve only to enhance moments, and should be hand-waved in favor of epic thoughts and moments in fast-paced play. This is kind of a video gamey way of thinking about time, where it serves as a game mechanic and a plot device. Timers, lack of seasons, jumps forward or backward help push away the tedium that often surrounds parts of life that allows you to really edit down to the good bits. Action-focused narratives really make some of the best use of this arbitrary time methodology, and in the lulls of action, a lot of unexpected hurt can be done to pacing, because not every table has a series of witty one-liners and clapbacks that will fill a travel scene. Now, the other broad idea of time is that it matters deeply to the campaign world, and if actions do not meet deadlines, consequences will logically follow. Some of the same tools from the arbitrary time method are used when managing things like movement or various types of travel, but each one of these happens within context and has a meaningful duration. For instance, when your wizard wants to spend the whole week focusing on his scroll making, this idea of time puts weight on the alternatives. Maybe the goblin cave was not explored in time and the townsfolk were not rescued. But now maybe the blacksmith's daughter is looking for moral support, which your bard is there to amply supply. Highly heroic narratives find it harder to fit into this framework of time, since as the heroes, when they're not actively adventuring, this means lives are not actively being saved. Now, this is not really a failure of that framing device, but really a feature which puts characters in context with ramifications. When applied well, players get a sense of space and life in the game world. The heroes spend a full week in the dungeon, but then make it out in time for a festival. 1 month from then, when they go back into the dungeon, there's a wandering tribe of goblins who took up residence on their first floor and trade news back and forth with the players that a horde of insectoid marauders drove them from their home. And then they learn that the army is only 3 months away. Should the party delve the dungeon for potential tools to defeat the army? Or should they immediately go help the townsfolk? Could the town even be prepared in time? These are the kinds of questions you can get when you have a highly complex relation with time. And these two broad categories for using time also change depending on the genre. For instance, space adventures tend to lend themselves to arbitrary time, as the celestial bodies are no longer really relative to segmenting social actions on a large scale. So if you want to visit a new planet every session, why should your character really expect the ship life to significantly change? Now, meaningful time in a sci-fi setting is more about sequence and timing with a higher focus on direct relationships to the party. For instance, how old is your child after you come back from warp travel? Did the revolution that your captain started actually go anywhere? See, logistics required to give context to a universe of action becomes orders of magnitude greater and more complex than just a single region on a fantasy map, so you have to change the scope of how you interact with time. Now, the wonderful aspect of both of these ideas about time is that they're not mutually exclusive, and a GM should feel free to borrow liberally from any style. In our game, we want to keep action and exploration snappy, but I admit I spent several hours calculating the time used during the adventure and how long the downtime would be affected so that we can give some space to a lot of the condensed actions being done, like managing the Citadel or performing a trade. One thing there's always time for is dropping a rating and comment on your app of choice to help the podcast grow. Fans like you help keep the story going, and with every share and Patreon supporter, we get a little bit stronger and can go a little bit further. Now, when we last left off, our party began going about their individual businesses. Let's take a look in on Taffy to see what she has planned. Taffy, you have expressed that you want to retrain away from the necromantic arts.
No. Yes.
And you want to be able to look into being able to fix the Iodara as well.
Yes.
But I think your biggest priority was really getting in and reconsidering what you wanted to do for your wizard's specialization. So what specialization did you want to go into?
I wanted to switch from necromancy to enchantment.
Excellent. So how is that changing up your abilities?
It's changing, like, a few things. It's changing my focus spell from, to charming words. It was a necromancy spell, or focus spell, to charming words. And it's changing up some of the spells that I have knowledge of, as far as, like, so I kept the sorcerer archetype and got heal. And then, so, yeah, mostly, honestly, a lot of her stuff isn't changing. It's just, like, the focus spell's changing, and then once she gets higher level, her spells there are changing a little bit. Like,
And are you needing to add any additional spells to your repertoire?
I think...
Or to your spells known?
Yeah, there are a couple... Well, yes. So Hideous Laughter and Enthrall are bonus spells that she gets with that.
Alright, so then what we'll need to do to be able to complete the change is you'll need someone to be able to do some training with you to get you those 2 new spells into your spell book.
Okay.
And then you'll need some guidance in being able to not just to really move away from the necromancy side of things. So for that, you have your best option in town is likely going to be Trina Oskuld. She can help you begin transitioning towards that. She can help you get access to the underlying spells that you'll need for that. And as you begin conferring and talking with Trina, Wimble whispers into your ear, really what you're going to need to finish off that training is you're likely going to need to go back into the first world.
Okay.
Now, when you first went into the first world, that was shortly after you had taken up some of the necromancy aspects, after you had
Lost my master. And...
And you had, from your understanding, you had been in the first world for a few weeks at that point.
Maybe a year at most.
So you'd been in there for about a year. Now, what was it like right before you went in? What was your experience like?
I mean, she had just lost her master because he bleached and died from the bleaching. Her parents didn't really want anything to do with her. She heard some hustle and bustle around Absalom about a group of adventurers going in to attempt the Starstone?
The trial of the Starstone?
Yeah. But she wasn't really thinking about that because she was too busy in her own emotional situation. She'd had Wimble for a while now. So they were trying to figure out the best way to help her. And Wimble had noticed that she, because of depression, because of everything that was going on, she had actually started bleaching a little before. So in order to save her from that, he led her to I'm not really sure how it works, but I imagine it's like a tear in the fabric between the two worlds, and took her into the first world, keeping her there for as long as it took for her to recover from her sorrow and heartbreak and to learn more magic and stuff.
So Wimble brought you into that community of sprites and brownies and other fae folk. The fae who are in the first world are generally a lot more formidable and powerful that's there.
Weirder, more colorful, more vibrant, more alive. And Taffy felt for a time that she was more alive as well.
And when you came back out, you found yourself in an Absalom that was very different.
Yeah.
The the buildings were taller, more grand. The colors being flown were significantly different. You had a fairly significant dislocation in dialect that occurred, because you knew that most people were generally speaking a Taldane that's there, but you heard a lot more of a kind of a pigeoned version of that dialect when you'd come out, and a lot of that kind of spurred you away from being able to gain access back into the academy because you were no longer on their records.
Yep.
And at that point, well, not on the records. You pieced out and, headed out into the world, caught a ship, first one that would essentially have let you on, right?
Yep.
And that brought you onto the ferry that then brought you up into Isker. And then you saw the colorful bard comically carrying all the stuff of what appeared to be a noble from likely out towards the west. You didn't powerfully recognize the colorations, but from everything that you had been picking up on some of the books that you had nabbed in Absalom to kind of see what was going on.
And she would have grabbed a lot. She needed to catch up, and she knew it. She didn't know what was going on, but she needed to catch up.
One of the things that you realized, though, was Prophecy was dead. Aridin was gone.
She didn't really realize at the time when she first came back out how significant Aridin and his death was. But yeah,
like the parties that were entering into the Starstone that you were hearing of was, his former herald was going into that. Like, that was a big deal in Absalom at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And from what you know now, Iomade succeeded.
Yep.
And you found yourself heading up this river, and you're coming into Rova. You are like 14 days from the Day of Ascendance. You realize that you were probably hundreds of years out of time for that 1 year that you spent in. What does that make you think of when Wimble tells you need to go back in?
It makes Taffy a little scared, and sad, because she's not sure if her friends will still even be alive when she comes back. But she knows, looking at her hands, looking at the trailing white that is starting to spread up her fingers more, that she needs to get away for a short while. She asks Wimble, is there a way we can do this so that not very much time passes here?
So Wimble he puts his thimble out for a shot.
She fills it up for him.
And he knocks it back real quick. His face kind of squishes up, and it gets into this kind of a narrow-shaped face with a broad forehead that's got a lot of lines in it. And he takes on an old accent from back at the time. Well, you see, sweetheart, you can't guarantee exactly what you're going to get on the other side when you pass in. It depends on the whims of the First World Lords. We haven't been up in this area before, but they tend to be temperamental depending on the area. You'd have to venture out into the forest surrounding here to find another passage through. I think there's one in the area, out in what they call this Red Fir Forest.
Well, then that's where we need to go. Can we take Luna?
We probably can, but you gotta be willing to take care of her. It's another set of eyes.
I know.
Braxton and Luna?
Let's leave Braxton here.
He missed you terribly.
I know.
Why bring one and not the other?
Okay, we can bring them both.
Braxton has my other pint of scotch. So you begin getting your preparations done. You work with Trino to cover, since you threw most of your gold at Steno to help cover the keep repair costs.
She helps with like odd jobs around the tavern, and
so you kind of get pressed into doing a little bit of the work there to help out there with that. Is there anything you wanted to do before you went out into the wilderness itself?
She's gonna leave a note for everyone with Trina, essentially saying, I'm going on a trip. I'll be back soon, I hope. If I don't come back soon, or if you guys never see me again, I'm sorry. But I have some stuff to do. It shouldn't take me long, but I'll miss you. And then she's actually gonna look for Alec.
All right, you're able to find him. He's, during these first days, he's helping to direct the Bramble Bashers in getting the keep itself cleaned out, helping to assist with some of the seneschal duties that's there. He finds that as far as it comes to giving orders, Stano is doing things left and right, so he's just doing a lot of cleanup work. Ah, yes, Lady Taffy.
I'm going away for a bit.
Away?
Not for long. I am reconnecting with my roots, you could say.
Oh, where are your roots set in? Where are they from?
The Crimson Wood.
I didn't know you were a local, Lady Taffy.
I'm not, but it's the easiest way for me to get home.
Get home? Out to the east, there's but Andoran, but just out east is just Andoran.
Home's not quite the right word for it, but I spent more time there than I've spent anywhere else in the world, so... And it's not even in the world.
You'll have to speak plainly for me, Lady Taffy. I know very little of the wizarding world. It muggles my mind.
I'll tell you, but you can't tell the others yet. I'll tell them when I get back.
Alright.
I'm going into the first world.
First world?
So a long, long time ago, back before you and I was born, gnomes and a lot of the fey creatures that you know came over from the first world, the world first created by the gods, as like a testing world or a starter world. Occasionally, tears will crop up in the fabric of the two worlds, and if you're fey-blooded like myself, or have a fey companion, you can travel to the first. Folks without fey blood don't necessarily fare well, but the last time I did it, I was away for a really, really long time. And I'm hoping that it can be a much shorter trip this time, but I have no guarantees.
So let me understand this. You're letting me know that you're about to run off on your own into a forest, unsupervised, to go through a portal into a world that is inhabited by powerful wild creatures. And you're going to attempt to do this alone.
Not alone.
You're going to attempt to do this without a sword. When I put it that way, how does that sound, Lady Taffy?
I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but I've been there before.
Would it be this exact same point?
I don't know. The first world's a little weird. The lords here might be the same or they might be different.
And you're dead set on this?
She takes off her gloves and shows him her hands. The last time I went into the first world, it was to help alleviate this. If I don't alleviate this, I will die. And I don't want to die.
Alec kind of breathes in. He kind of looks at Wimble. Wimble just kind of, yeah, that's right.
Why does he sound like an old-timey, like...
Because he's in thin-faced mode.
Thin-faced mode.
Well, then I suppose I have no other choice. Braxton, grab her. And he gets you up by the... Braxton grabs you by the scruff of your shirt. And he's got you fold up at this point. Luna, come with me. And he begins marching y'all down from the keep to the rooms where y'all have still kept up staying. Heal. And then he opens his door.
No!
You see him grab his sword, his pack.
Can we just fade to black?
He sets you on Braxton.
Wait, what?
Lead the way. You're not going alone.
But if you get hurt or something happens to you...
Ditto. I'm not the smartest sword in the bunch. Definitely not the sharpest. But there's no member of this group who's going to be wandering off into a dangerous set of woods alone without at least a sword to carry. And since you can't hold this one, I will. Just make it quick. Takes too long to get the armor.
Alec, if you die for this, I will never forgive myself.
Oh, Taffy, if you die for this, they'll never forgive me for this.
Alright, let's go.
And so y'all begin heading out into the Crimson Wood. Give me a survival check.
I thought you were doing something totally different. Survival?
Yes, survival.
Oh, thank God. Nat 20 plus 2.
So you begin feeling out the energies of the space. You begin looking for the telltale signs of the passing of Fae, and you follow these esoteric trails through the Crimson Wood itself. You move off the beaten paths, you begin following the dancing lights of what you would expect for sprites and fairies of the area. And you come across a small lake area. Not a very large lake. Some might even consider it to just be a fairly large pond, but it is vibrant greens in this area. The trees where they have the reddish hues, the red is brighter. It is counterpointed with the greens, and then this light rippled blue lake out and surrounded by all of the area, and it just seems to be kind of radiating the sense of life and magic. Give me a knowledge nature.
Button toss.
Yes, Taffy. Use your buttons on your sense of self-discovery. Shut up, Medbeck.
So that's 22 again.
You believe that you may have located a Naiad's realm.
Taffy's gonna hop off Braxton and dig in her pack for an appropriate gift for the Naiad.
So what would you like to give or be able to present as a gift?
Well, Naiads are fae, water fae. They're small. She's gonna dig into her pack and find a really pretty dress.
Do you want to... The prettiest one you have is the one that was crafted for you by Winthrop.
Not that one, but second nicest.
So that would be the one that you initially adventured in that was then mended.
And it doesn't show mending anymore, right? Like it looks...
You have had it fully and thoroughly repaired.
Okay. She will take that as well as a pair of matching gloves from her pack. And a bauble of some sort, like a necklace or something she had back when she was in Absalon for the first time. And she will go down to the bank of the river, or of the pond, and call out, "My Lady Naiad, I come to you with a gift."
Give me a society check. You may substitute it with nature if you so desire.
No, that's a 27.
So your voice rings out across the pond, and as you speak, you see not just your voice echoing out, but almost as though the magical power emanates out from you. You can see it ripple out across the pond itself as it begins carrying over in these multiple waves just all along. And then it takes a few moments, and then you see coming up what appears that you first thought was a bit like a fish. But as soon as the form comes up, about 15 feet away from you, a figure begins rising out. And Alex's initial immediate response is,
No.
Pull it. Are you sure, my lady?
Yes, quite sure. Thank you.
And a feminine form begins raising up out of the water. She has sparse coverings of what appears to be a mix of lily and different types of lily and reeds, giving her a mild sense of propriety that's here to her as she's rising up. And you realize that she's a little bit larger than what you expected. Give me a nature check.
16?
You think she might be a little bit grander than a standard naiad. Potentially maybe a guardian, maybe one of the local higher ranking fae.
So Taffy is going to curtsy as low as she possibly can.
Alec just kind of looks at you.
Please do the same. I'm bow.
He kind of takes a note from you and he begins doing a very formal bow. You even have Braxton and Luna kind of laying down between the sides of you. Wimble does his own little aerial backflip and then bends forward, his face going to to a full Ryan Reynolds mode for this one. I see you have come before me, Lady Gnome. For what reason do you beseech the Naiad of Crimson Wood?
I need to travel to the first door, my lady.
The first world? What makes you think that such a place is accessible here?
Well, my companion and humble advisor, Wimble, has advised me that there is a place here in the Crimson Wood that I can get back. I seek tutelage, and I've been there before. It's never good when the DM writes after a dice roll.
The Naiad looks and her eyes roll over you, rolls over Alec, and then they stop on Wimble. And then her eyes get large. Wimble dibble for Fimble!
Oh my god, no!
And Wimble kind of gives her a little wink out of his right eye. Just this kind of broad smile.
What a name.
I didn't know Master Fofimble was in this area.
Master?
Yeah, fine.
God.
Well, Master Fofimble knows exactly where the entrance would be, and you are correct, Lady Taffy. This is one of the few spots in the area where you can cross over.
I would
But
also...
you will need to swim.
I can swim. I would
Alec
ask...
kind of leans over. Is Wimble a big deal?
I guess so.
Wimble jumps down in between you.
Yeah, I'm a big deal.
I would also like to ask that we only stay a short time, maybe a week or so. Do you know if that's possible? A week or so in the mortal realm, not in the first world.
As I am the guardian of this realm and the passage between, and since you come in such gracious company, I do believe that the passage of time here and the other side, as long as you do not dare too far, should be fairly similar to each other.
Thank you very much, my lady.
So he's really that big a deal?
Wimble's my best friend. He's been around a long time too. I guess so. My lady, I did bring gifts. Do you still want them?
She looks, and again her eyes kind of glance up at Wimble and then over to you, and then she gives you a very gracious bow as well and accepts your offering. More than is required and readily accepted, my lady.
Thank you very much.
So what are we going to do here? Where's the entrance? It is down at the bottom. Are we going to have to swim? Yes.
Wait, Alec, you only need to come with me this far. Wimble and I can go beyond. You have responsibilities too, don't you?
He's already taking his shirt off. Well, I guess we're swimming.
Shit, I didn't mean to kidnap Alec.
So he gets everything wrapped up. His sword is, he gets all of his gear together. Sword's down to the sheath. He's got everything tightened up around there. He can't fully seal it, but he'll put up with it as best he can. And then with his clothes in his pack.
Can I use... I know prestidigitation can be used to dry things out or clean things. Is it capable of, if I cast it on my pack, is it capable of keeping things dry within the pack?
Not particularly. It's not strong enough for that. So you see him basically with his pack. Are we ready to go? Aren't you going to get ready?
She's gonna look around for a hollow in a nearby tree.
Okay.
I assume nature.
Oh, if you're looking for a tree, that would be perception.
Perception, so... Oh yeah, that's even better. So 14, it's 9, 23.
So yeah, you can find a tree.
She's gonna put all of her valuables, like books and stuff that won't survive the water, in the hollow, and she's gonna cover it up with, she's got like a tarp that she's been carrying with her. Actually, are tarps waterproof?
They can be.
You know what? Pulling out her tarp, she's gonna rethink her decision.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna wrap all her books and everything as tightly as possible up in the tarp and tie it off really, really well to help hopefully prevent water damage. And she's gonna strap on her pack. She's gonna follow Alec into the water.
Lady Taffy, are you going in your standard wear? That's going to weigh you down when swimming.
Well, I mean, the point is to get to the bottom, right?
Well, you don't want to drown in the process of getting over there. There's a reason why I put everything, including my clothing, in the sack.
Wait, is he stark naked right
He
now?
is stark naked right now.
Taffy is blushing like 50 million shades of red right now. She turns away and strips down to her chemise and under things.
Okay,
And shoves it all in the bag, too.
that should be easier. Alright, Luna, it's time to learn the doggy paddle.
Oh, Luna. Oh, Braxton. Shit. Actually, Lady Naiad, there's one last request, if you might honor it.
I am listening.
Is it possible for us all to have underwater breathing cast on us? Can you do that?
That is within my power.
Oh, thank you. I would not like to lose many of my companions to being unable to breathe.
I can see why.
Me too.
Are you sure you don't want to leave this strapping one here to guard your things?
It seems he's insisting to come with me.
I will not abandon my companion.
Tabby's really trying hard not to look in his pelvic direction.
So, water breathing gets cast,
Okay.
and y'all can begin swimming towards the center. Give me a nature check to convince the animals to swim down and go below water.
21?
So you can... It takes a little bit of controlling, especially with the pup, but y'all can... Once they figure out that they can actually breathe underwater and it not be a problem, y'all can begin swimming down towards the very bottom of the lake. Luckily, with Alec's sword and his weight, he's able to make sure that everyone can get out to the lake fairly well, and it actually is a lot deeper than what you would have expected. The slope seems gradual to start with, but then it really begins to precipitously drop. And then with Alec holding onto his pack, he can keep a hold of you and Luna, and
while
together
we're
Braxton.
swimming down, Taffy's gonna cast dancing lights over all four of our heads.
And, keeping the spell up and going, moving down into the lower depths, you can see where the opening is, and you can see all of these different types of fish kind of moving in and out. And as they kind of swim by and schooling, this small little lake almost appears to be about the depth of a much larger one. The bottom seems to be much bigger down below the surface than what you would expect to have been above the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And you pass through the gate and then find yourselves at the entrance of the first world. From this point, Wimble is able to then take and guide you to a, not quite a settlement, but a place in a space. You were able to rise up out of the other side of the lake fairly quickly and easily. You find the other Naiads attendants, and you are kind of maneuvering back and forth with the court aspect itself. And it looks like Wimble's intention is for this area to be your rehabilitation zone that's here.
Okay.
After kind of getting up to the surface, Wimble just kind of pops off for a little bit, not too terribly long. But when he comes back, as he gets back, he is accompanied by another Naiad. And you work out and figure out that this Naiad is actually the one who's going to be your teacher that's there. And in working with this Naiad, you can, over the course of the next couple of weeks, get your retraining in so that you move more fully from this necromancy school into the school of enchantment. And as you are learning and going through the different motions, you realize it's going to take you a couple weeks for that. During that time, Alec is taking care of Braxton and Greaves.
You mean Luna?
Oh yeah, taking care of Braxton and Luna, and knows nothing about the wizarding side of everything that's going on. Is there anything that you want to accomplish aside from your retraining while you're in this aspect of the first world? The trees are large, the water is this crystal blue, it doesn't start getting opaque until like the very center of the lake, so you can see all the bottom with the fish. Your daily lessons are about being able to take the aspects from yourself to then be able to reflect and supply imagery and nuance and emotion, how to convey these things more appropriately. And you get a lot of the sense of the differences between the enchantment school versus the necromancy school.
No, I guess when she's not studying, she'll be spending time with everybody, like Alec and the Luna and Braxton and Wimble, and just kind of chilling, hanging out.
So then you get towards about 2 weeks in, and you receive your final lesson and your final test to make sure that you have properly learned all of the material. And your Naiad teacher informs you that to pass the test, you need to be able to show that you can adequately enchant an available human. And luckily you brought one with you.
Am I allowed to tell him I'm about to do this?
If you want to make it hard on yourself.
Okay. Oh god, okay.
How do you want to go about accomplishing your final test?
All the spells that... I guess I'll do Charming Words, which is a focus spell.
Okay. And what does Charming Words itself do?
It's a 30-foot range, target one creature. It's a will save. And it lasts until my next turn. You whisper enchanting words to deflect your foe's ire. The target must attempt a will save. If they succeed, they're unaffected. Wait. The only other one I can really do that would do that, or would like fall under the enchantment school, that wouldn't harm him, would be Enthrall. Actually, hold on. I just saw one that I can take. Okay. I'm going to cast Dream Message. There's no save on this one. It's a duration of 1 day. You send a message to your target's dream. The message is one way, up to a minute of speech. If the target is asleep, they receive the message instantly. If not, they receive it the next time they sleep. As soon as they receive it, the spell ends, and you know the message was sent. It's considered enchantment mental.
So you inform your instructor what message that you're wanting to send up, and as you begin going about that, the instructor goes, "So, are you going to tell him? We've been watching you for the last 2 weeks."
I don't know what you speak of.
You know that here in the first world, you can't tell a lie. And only your exposure to those mortal worlds lets you lie to yourself, dear Taffy.
But we're totally different.
Well...
And there's a lot of competition back at home. Or back in the other world.
Well, for the past 2 weeks, you've had him all to yourself.
I'll tell him, but he's gonna think it's dream, won't he?
Well, you'll tell him in his dreams. If you can't be honest here, maybe you can be honest there.
It's gonna be a really short message.
So when Alec goes to sleep the following night before y'all head back, what does he dream about?
It's just a minute-long message, or less. But essentially Taffy's just gonna tell him she finds him attractive, that even though they're completely different races, completely different ends of all the spectrums, she thinks he's hot. And that she might have feelings for him, and that she knows she has a lot of competition, and she's out of words.
So as y'all had gone to sleep for that evening, your spell's full effect begins taking over. The words begin passing into his mind, and it seems there's an odd effect associated with it, because when you're dreaming, you also feel as though you're there conveying this message, and you get this sense coming back. It seems as though Alec is able to interact with you in this set.
Oh no.
Taffy, I need you to understand. You're clever, but you're impulsive. And you have so much more room to grow. So much capacity in you. That in your growth, you'll be able to learn and continue learning and growing. You'll learn so much more than I'll ever be able to do. Know so much more than I'll ever be able to know. Just don't be afraid of the knowledge. And when you wake up, your fingertips are pearlescent, no longer bone-bleached white, but now with a sparkle of rainbow.
That's pretty cool.
And then as y'all are waking up for the day, Alec does that. I had a great dream. Taffy,
Yes?
I vaguely remember having a dream last night. I just wanted to let you know. As impulsive as you are, I think you're quite clever.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that.
Are you a little brighter red?
I have no idea what you're talking about. And she's like, eyes down, trying really hard not to look at him.
Why can't you look at me, Lady Taffy?
I also dreamed last night.
Oh yeah? What did you dream about?
I dreamed you would tell me exactly what you told me.
Ah, what providence. Is there a reason why I had no clothes on?
That I had no control over. And also, I didn't say you didn't have clothes on.
Huh. I wonder what I'm going to do with that. And as y'all begin wrapping up your training, now a day or two after it having been 2 weeks, your Naiad instructor on the other side can ensure that everyone can make it back over, back into the other world.
I hug her.
And she hugs you back.
And I hug all the attendants and people that we've met along the way here in the first.
You know, you could have just charmed him. He probably would have appreciated it.
I could have.
You probably would have appreciated it too.
I could have, and I thought about it, but it seemed wrong. I'd like to charm him with my own natural charm, if that makes sense.
Don't let anyone else get in your way then. Human hearts can be fickle, and they only live so long.
I know.
But he's got a nice ass.
He does, doesn't he?
And so y'all make it to the other side, and as y'all get to the other side of the portal, get up, use a little bit of prestidigitation to make sure y'all are all nice and clean, that your stuff is properly taken care of, and dress for the ride back. Y'all make it into Breach Hill. Give me a society check.
17?
You realize that as you left just at the start of Lamachan, the cleaning was just being rounded up at that point, that you still find yourself several days out from Ascendance Day for Ioma Day. You realize you've only been gone 48 hours.
Aw. Well, now I feel silly.
Taffy, all the dates that for what we've been talking about have only been 2 days.
I know. She let us have more time on the other side than what we passed on this side. She made it so that we weren't gone very long.
How am I going? Well, I was worried how I was going to explain 2 weeks to Steno. She is the administrator at this point, and I am the seneschal. It's a lot easier to explain 2 days, though.
Yes, it really is. Although they're going to be completely confused by my notes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, we'll deal with that problem as it arises.
Yeah.